Good evening and welcome. My name is Lynn Garudo, and this is Lisa Warren. We are your co-chairs for tonight's 7th annual Hope and Light Gala, which benefits Interface Children and Family Services.
Our event looks a little different this year because we are virtual, but the reason we hold this fundraising event every year has not changed. The monies raised by tonight's event go directly to support the significant and innovative work that is performed by Interface Children and Family Services.
Interface is an integral part of our community and has been helping the marginalized and neglected for over 45 years. As the largest, most comprehensive social services agency in Ventura County, Interface intervenes when a crisis occurs and works to prevent problems from arising in the first place. Interface accomplishes this through its 7 core programs that include mental health and trauma treatment, domestic violence and child abuse prevention, youth crisis and homeless services, early child and family development, human trafficking, justice services, and 211 information and assistance.
The nearly 200 professional and staff personnel that comprise Interface work tirelessly to support and implement these 7 core programs, helping the most vulnerable within our community. Although many people do not know it, Interface is intimately involved in assisting and helping community individuals impacted by tragedies, such as the Borderline shooting, the Woolsey fire, and the current corona pandemic. They work closely with social services, law enforcement, medical personnel, and the social justice system. And although they may not get the media attention they deserve, they continue behind the scenes to provide these critical services. Tonight, you will have an opportunity to see examples of Interface's dedication to our community through videos detailing their commitment to recovery, resilience, and response. In addition, you will be inspired by impactful testimonials and heartfelt performances.
We would like to thank our generous sponsors, our Regional Advisory Board, the amazing staff at Interface, David Slatkin of David's Catering, and all of our special guests whose performances and testimonials have helped to turn our usual Hope and Light gathering into this wonderful virtual event. And although we can't be with all of you in person, please know that your support this evening through bidding on live and silent auction items and other donations will help Interface to continue to assist all members in need within our community. Interface's mission, which is to strengthen children, families, and community to be safe, healthy, and thriving, is the backbone of each of its 7 programs and can only be attained through your generous donations. We hope you enjoy tonight's Hope and Light program and that you leave knowing and understanding a little more about the important work that Interface performs each and every day. Thank you so much for participating.
We would now like to introduce you to Eric Sternad, Executive Director of Interface, and Andrew Firestone, our fabulous Master of Ceremonies, who has graciously supported us for the past 6 years.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the 7th annual Hope and Light in support of Interface. My name is Andrew Firestone, and I'm back with you once again as your MC, and so happy to have all of you here. Probably not the way that Lynn and Lisa had pictured this event going, our wonderful co-chairs, but here we are. And we are so happy to have you here. And even though Hope and Light has been such an amazing party these last 6 years that I've been a part of this event really isn't about the party, it's about the purpose.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have been able to do so much through the funds that we've raised here at this event. I'm incredibly proud to be part of this once again. And one thing that is always constant with this event is the guy sitting to my right, the head of this organization, Mr. Eric Sternad. Thanks so much for being here, and what a way to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. Just wonderful to have you back here, 6th year in a row. The energy, the excitement, we've raised so much money with your help, so delighted to have you back again.
So obviously it's a little different this year, and normally you're used to seeing us up on stage, but now we're on a computer screen. But that gives us an opportunity to watch some of these amazing performances and testimonials in a different light. And more importantly, it makes it really easy to donate if you're feeling generous. If you scroll down on this page, you'll see there's opportunities to give, also opportunities to bid on some live auction items that will be open until 7:15 this evening.
So we're really blessed to have some incredible sponsors again this year, and we really want to give them a shout out and thank you to them. We were really kind of worried about how it was going to go this year, but they really stepped up. So Sage Publications, again, our presenting sponsor. Our other major sponsors, Western Alliance, Ellie Mae, Next Bank, RJ O'Brien, AmeriHome, Julie and Jamie Power, and Allison and Peter Ratcliffe. Without you guys, we just could not make this a success tonight. So thank you again so much.
So thank you to all of our sponsors and to all of you here tonight that are going to give so generously to Interface and make sure that the mission continues again for another year. Now, let's kick off the evening with our first presentation.
In volunteering for Interface, I've learned some statistics that are really concerning. First of all, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused by the time they're 18. I've also learned that this knows no socioeconomic or racial boundaries. This is everywhere. We need to address that, and we need to stop that cycle.
Within our prevention services is a program called My Body Belongs to Me, where we go into the schools and teach the littles about their body, how to say no, how to get away, and how to tell. One of the programs that we do is we go into the high schools and middle schools and teach kids about domestic violence, teach them about dating violence and what to do if they're hurting someone, what to do if their friends are being hurt, and what to do if they're the person that's being hurt.
I also learned through Interface that 30% of abused kids go on to abuse their own children. This is a cycle of violence that really can be affected if we take an Interface and they come in and they use evidence-based practices and they end this cycle in the family for generations to come.
When I first got involved, we had somebody that had worked through domestic violence and had the family become educated with it too. And that's what I, fear most about the younger people. If they have issues, they have nowhere to go. And especially if the parents are having problems, they throw that back on the kids.
That service, having that out there, is a great safety net for so many people.
One of the big things that we love about the Neighborhoods for Learning is when these parents or caregivers walk into the program, we can do the screenings on the children, and it's a relationship based. And if you have a language delay or you have a cognitive delay, we'll connect you to services right then and there. And we'll get, those intervention supports, because we know that early detection and early intervention leads to better outcomes forever.
Our goal is to provide high quality education and services to young children 0 to 5 and their families, their caregivers, to offer parent education alongside their children learning. They also learn.
NFL services are basically out of school sites, so we get classroom. It really looks like a preschool environment, and what we do there is offer parent and child together classes that gives parents the opportunity to connect with other parents and really learn from our teachers in a way where it's not just child development being crammed and educated in a classroom style, but being modeled for parents to take home and practice in their home as well.
We also offer care coordination, which is targeted case management. So if a parent has a concern about their child's development, whether it's speech or developing normally, they can come to any of our teachers, our specialists, and get referrals. We walk alongside them through the referral process, which can be daunting. A lot of what we do is focusing on school readiness or different skills that they may need, social emotional, all the different domains of development. And if we can help a parent understand how to foster those domains of development, that impacts the way that they interact with their child, that impacts their ability to go to school, that impacts how well they do in school, all the way through getting a job.
We've done a lot of outreach, not only the mental health department, but Interface in general has done so much outreach that we're known in the community, and folks are coming to us like, oh yeah, I want the help. I've heard good things. We see the successes that have come out.
It's not necessarily all trauma, it's not necessarily all Medi-Cal. We've been able to take on different opportunities, whether it's First Five, Kaiser, to be able to serve, I think, a wider audience of services.
And we've also been able to expand providing the services to the family members. So whereas before some of our work was focused on just the client, we were able to then say, oh yeah, if a sibling is affected by this trauma, if the whole family unit was affected by the trauma, we actually have some resources now to go ahead and bring them in as well and work with that.
We're sending therapeutic materials in the mail to clients so that they have the tools and equipment at home to be able to continue the therapy that happens, in the 1 hour session with the clinician.
There are hundreds of children and moms and dads that are getting life-changing trauma treatment. There's prevention work being done in schools that wouldn't otherwise be done. There's support for a runaway homeless youth shelter that is a particular passion of mine and my family's. There's just a lot of services that wouldn't happen without the community support, and it's invaluable.
So your staff talked a little bit about a program called My Body Belongs to Me.
Yeah.
And really, is it possible to stop sexual abuse?
Yeah, well, it's really a good question. And I guess I want to put you on the spot a little bit, because if it was possible, how much money would you be willing to spend to be able to protect your children
Right.
from sexual abuse?
There's not a number, right?
Yeah,
that's
right.
And if you thought that there was an outcome that would eliminate sexual abuse, what wouldn't any parent give?
Yeah. So what's amazing is that My Body Belongs to Me program, for $20, we can do education for a toddler on up through school age to their parents and teachers, and we actually are having kids come up to us and disclose that child abuse is happening. And so we get the really the privilege at that point to get the authorities involved and stop that abuse that same day. That child never has to go back and have that experience again. And oddly enough, if you just kind of do the numbers, after we educate about 150 kids, that's when a child will come forward and disclose. So it's just a numbers game. The more we do, the more education we do, the more child sexual abuse we can stop.
So Eric, Interface does so much good in the community, but one of the areas that you guys work in that's so important to me as a father of 3 young children is your work with domestic violence. Can you talk a little bit about what Interface does and how your outreach impacts the lives of young people in the community?
Yeah. So the staff testimonials we've heard really talk about the breadth of the services and the impact in the community, and I have a personal stake in this, really. My wife grew up in a domestic violence home, and this of course affected her whole family, and it's over 50 years ago that this happened, but it's still something that is present with her today. It might be a movie or a TV show or a news article that sort of triggers those memories, and we'll talk about it. And she's a loving and strong woman, but it's just an illustration of how that impact really lasts. And I just wish that we could have reversed time and get some of our Interface staff in there to have intervened with her mom when she was 17. Mm-hmm. What a change that could have made. And yet, that's what we do every day. We are making that change now and for the generations.
The work that Interface does with domestic abuse is so critical to the safety of our community, and they need our support to do that. So if you haven't had a chance yet, please scroll down on the page and you can take a look at our Fund to Need categories, and please be part of what Interface is doing now and into the future. So another thing we saw in the video was an education program for infants and toddlers, but
yeah,
that seems a little young maybe to start that process, or not?
Sure, yeah, well that's a good question. Well, what if I were to say to you that I could give you a 13% return on investment? Would that be a good deal?
Yep.
It would be a good deal. And that's what the research tells us, is that if we put money into 0 to 5 age children and their parents, society gets a 13% return on that investment. In fact, there is no better educational investment adult school, high school, college, K through 12, it's the best investment in 0 to 5 years old. So we are really catching up for some kids who actually start out kind of behind the 8 ball already, and we can help them catch up with their peers in the first couple of months and years, and then they're never looking back.
So normally we'd call it, fund a need or a donation, but maybe we can call today's event an investment in the future. And if you want to make an investment in the future, just scroll down and you'll see your opportunities to give to Interface. It's a good investment. Please do it. Sit back and enjoy this next performance.
Hi everybody, I'm Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon. My family has lived here in Westlake Village for over 20 years now. Our 3 children went to grade school at Westlake Hills Elementary, and that was where my wife Lisa met Lynn Garudo and Lisa Warren, and along with a great group of women, they were able to set fundraising records at Westlake Hills, which remain unsurpassed to this day. So when they get together, I want to be involved because I know it's for a good cause, and what we're all here tonight for is certainly that. The Interface Children and Family Services Organization is at work right here, right in our neighborhood, helping people as we speak. I wrote a song years ago which speaks to a lot of the same ideals which are encouraged and embraced by the Interface group. So I'm hoping that in singing it for you tonight, you're inspired to support the organization through a donation right here, right now. So I thank you in advance for your generosity, and I hope that together we continue building the bridge. Father to son, husband to wife, brother to brother, black man to white, living together, falling apart, looking for the common ground in every human heart. It all comes down to the 2 of us. Yeah, this is where we start. And we are building the bridge, one small stone at a time, with a lot of love and some help from above, from your heart to mine. There's a land of justice, cities filled with pride, and a mountain of hope just on the other side. Across the river of indifference, a valley of despair, there's a tower of courage piercing through the air. I have a dream for our children, I want to take them there. And we are building the bridge, one small stone at a time, with a lot of love and some help from above, from your heart to mine. As we seek out understanding, as we learn to forgive, when we open up our mind, when our words are true and kind, we are building the bridge. Yes, we are. When we open up our mind, when our words are true and kind, we are building the bridge. Keep building the bridge, my friends. Support Interface. Have a great night tonight. Thank you very much.
We have a staff that we basically don't have to tell to do their jobs because they love their jobs. They love serving people and they come to work every day wanting to do that. So I think it's super cool that we have a highly motivated team where everyone's on the same page around making sure that families are healthy and thriving.
I think what makes Interface unique is their approach to their services. They've been in our community for almost 50 years. They do a lot of services. They're going to do almost 15 million in services this year and outreach.
If they're given a helping hand and a place of safety and a place with resources, and that's one thing the Interface does provide, is a lot of resources for other people.
On average, it takes a victim 7 times to leave a relationship before they leave for good. And we know that. As a program, we have clients that return to the shelter a couple times. We have clients that come in and say, I'm gonna change and I'm not gonna stay with this person because they're not treating me right. And they end up going back to their partner. That's okay. That's the choice that they need to make for their family and for themselves at that moment in time. And that's perfectly fine. We just want them to know that we're still here. We want them to leave with information, with resources, and know that they can still leave again. If things get bad, we're here. We're here to help you. We're not going to turn our backs on our clients. If it's unsafe for them to come back to our shelter, let us help you find another shelter program. Let us help you find other resources that can help you stay safe.
There were like 200 homeless youth on the streets at any given point at any night now. And 63% of those teens were reported missing by no one. So they were just falling through the cracks somewhere here. And then many of them are recruited for human trafficking and sexual exploitation within 24 hours of being on the street. So I'm really loving the youth crisis work that Interface is doing, and I think they're on the front of that, and hopefully can do a lot more of it.
Our program works with runaway homeless youth ages 12 to 24, and we provide a variety of services. So we do preventative services, we do mediation, crisis intervention. We also provide gateway services, and that includes food, meal cards, transportation, hygiene products, and as well, we also serve the youth with paperwork for emancipation if they want to become independent from their parents. We're big in family reunification if that's an option for them. If the place where they ran away from is to them a stable home and it's safe for them, that's the ultimate goal, to reunify them with the family. And usually what that looks like is just basically mediating with both the parents and the youth to kind of come to a resolution and see what actually is the problem going on.
Even through COVID, the biggest success is that we have brought in youth and partnered with other agencies for referrals. I know at one time, right in April during the outbreak, we took in a family of 4 siblings that were living in a storage shed in someone's backyard, and helping them get back home to me was the biggest success so far during the pandemic. If I had the funding, I would have a shelter specifically for Tay that would accommodate their privacy and make them feel more at home and comfortable, and that's my dream. So I'm hoping that we'll make it happen soon.
I think always the most common thought that people have in a domestic abuse situation is, why doesn't the partner, the spouse, leave the other one? Why do they stay there and take it?
Yeah, it is a very common question, and you know what's sort of frightening right now with the pandemic is to think about victims being stuck in the house with their batterers and not being able to go anywhere. But really, you know, women are making, and it's mostly women who are the victims, they're making a calculation about, is it safer to leave or to stay?
Yep.
And the research even backs it up that a woman is actually at an increased risk of violence in that first 12 months after she discloses, after she tries to confront the situation. So it's kind of a good short-term decision, but it really isn't a good long-term decision. So what we do is we step in and we say, we're going to provide extra security for you. We're going to provide you a confidential shelter, a safety plan, a 24-hour team that can respond to you. So we're upping the safety part, and that gives women the confidence to be able to say, okay, it is safe enough for me to leave.
And then watching that, without question, as a parent, the scariest thing I can think about is my child running away, my child being on the streets.
Yeah.
And I mean, I shudder to think about that situation.
Because you know your kids aren't ready. They don't have any idea what they're going to face out in the community. They're just too young. They don't have the experience. So in our runaway homeless youth shelter, this is the scenario we come across time and time again. There's trouble in the family, violence, substance abuse, untreated mental illness. So there are good reasons for that young person to say, I can't stand this. I need to do something else. Unfortunately, they flee into the community, and then we have really evil people who are ready to prey on them. The research tells us again that street youth are approached for commercial sexual exploitation within 48 hours of hitting the street. So it's literally a race against time for us to try to get to those kids.
And this is what Interface does so well, is not just being reactive, but being proactive, and their outreach into the community, identifying kids that may be subject to these sort of conditions. And the only way that Interface can do the work that they can do is with our support. So again, I would please urge you to scroll down to those fund and need categories. Please give generously and make sure that Interface is able to identify some of these youth and some of these families going through incredibly difficult times.
You know, I recently learned about Interface Children and Family Services. It's a local, nonprofit organization offering vital programs to strengthen family and children in our community since 1973. That's coming up on 50 years. Interface's work is not only about the most vulnerable in our community, but also about working to create innovative solutions to meet the needs and ultimately eradicate systemic issues in our community. Now, when tragedy strikes, Interface always seems to be there and play a vital role in the health and well-being of our community. For instance, the terrible borderline crisis. It happened in our community. Interface was there to help with financial support to the victims and families of that terrible crisis. Now, I encourage you to join me tonight in support Interface Children and Family Services so that this organization can not only meet the needs, but expand and evolve to meet all of the needs of our community. It is so important work, and I thank you for your support.
Hey everybody, I'm Nick Safakis and I'm part of the band Ayaterra. Thank you to Interface for having us tonight. If you didn't know, Interface is a charity that provides services for women, teen, children, and families who are struggling with things such as homelessness, child abuse, and domestic violence. Your donations tonight will help support the critical work that Interface performs every day, and we're stoked to be a part of it. Thanks for having us. I hope you enjoy the music video of Give Thanks. Bless.
Well, if you're lost and alone, don't worry, 'cause you're already home. And I know it's a long, long road, but we're ready to go. I found beauty in the balance in between all the highs and the lows. So as long as I can sing my song, then I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. For whatever gonna come my way, yes, I just give thanks, give thanks. All the struggles and the troubles and the sorrow, yeah, I just give thanks, give thanks. And don't worry about tomorrow, you're living today. give thanks, you got to give thanks, yeah. It's all gonna be okay. We just give thanks, you know, we give thanks, yeah. Special shout out of love to our boy Stick Figure who wrote this song with us. We're thankful. I give thanks for this love that you're giving me. My love is like an ocean, it ain't got no worry. I'm sailing through the unknown on a forbidden sea. Well, I've been chasing the sun, but it's gone eventually. Waves get rough and I'm not giving up. This place, it is forsaken, your memories are sacred. Life gets tough, never stop looking up. Give thanks for this life, my soul. For whatever gonna come my way. Yes, I just give thanks, give thanks. All the struggles and the troubles and the sorrow, yeah. I just give thanks, give thanks. And don't worry about tomorrow, you're living today. Give thanks, you got to give thanks, yeah. It's all gonna be okay. We just give thanks, you know, we give thanks, yeah. Yeah, give thanks, Sugar Shack. One love.
Well, we hope you're enjoying your evening so far. And a quick reminder, it's almost 7:15. The auction will be closing, so please get your bids in and please support Interface.
"211" is a 24/7 hotline that community members can call for anything from "I don't have enough food to feed my kids today" to "I'm in a mental health crisis and need to speak to somebody immediately," or "I received an eviction notice and it says that I need to move out within 3 days and I don't know what kind of resources are available to me." 211 is the only place that you can call where you can get access to social services information, health services information, disaster information. It's really kind of a one-stop place to find out if you're having an issue with your family, where there are resources available to help you.
Besides the domestic violence part, the 211 line is so critical to Interface and helping with any type of tragedies that happen in the county. You know, when the fires were here, you know, Interface was there.
We have really special partnerships here in Ventura County with organizations like Ventura County Community Foundation, United Way of Ventura County, Dignity Health, Kaiser, Southern California Edison, and many others that are always there for us when we need. And we didn't feel that any more than we did this year during the coronavirus pandemic, where partners were stepping up and offering to help us to continue to provide service when we had to expand in such a fast way. I think in the future what it holds for us is finding creative ways to keep ourselves funded in a way that we can continue to provide the level of service that we're giving now. We need to find sustainable new funding to make sure that this increase is something that we can keep going and that we can continue to give good quality service to the community, because they're calling, they really need the help.
I think it's amazing that we've been able to use Zoom more and use these other telehealth services in order to reach clients where they're at. That's our primary focus, is being trauma informed, which means meeting clients where they're at. And it's easier for a client to meet with someone if they can do it from their home, if they don't have to commute to meet with someone. I think my dream for our family violence department is just to continue growing, to grow our shelters and have more in-depth services, to have more advocates, be able to reach more clients, to be able to provide more outreach to the community, to have everyone have access to our services and everyone know about our services.
Interface's approach for evidence-based services and practices, they're not just putting people through the system and processing people that are in trauma or in crisis. They're actually utilizing techniques that are proven effective, and they're really working to end the cycle, in which case it might be family violence within a family, and they're trying to end the cycle of crisis that's happening in that community or within that family.
Interface supports adult victims of sex trafficking and labor trafficking.
A couple years ago, we had a victim come through that was referred to us by a medical provider that we had trained in the community to identify. And they came in, they went through our shelter program and began to really be empowered by their story. And they graduated our shelter, went on to be autonomous in the community, and eventually went through the 60-hour training that is required to be an HT caseworker in the field. And is actually a survivor champion who gets to use their own story to help empower other victims of this victimization. The task force is establishing a partnership with law enforcement. It is creating a protocol for our county so that all law enforcement is aware of how to interact with these victims of both sex and labor trafficking. It's partnering with our agricultural community and our culturally competent agencies in the community to reach our foreign nationals that maybe are not engaging with us, so that we have a truly culturally sensitive approach. We currently have one shelter for female victims of sex trafficking. We need more shelters. We need shelters for male victims. We have begun to educate the community on what male victimization looks like and have seen an increase in male referrals in the last year and a half. We need a home for these men.
The Interface Reentry Services program basically is more so what don't we offer than what do we offer. Individuals coming out of the local jails here in Ventura County will be referred to us through their probation officer. So the first thing we do is assess them, see what their needs are. Majority of the time that's always case management. So case management is linking individuals to any community resource that they might need, whether that's housing, food, employment, any of those sort of elements. We really are this backbone coordinated agency between probation and service providers and clients, and we get to provide this thorough oversight and relinquish that responsibility from probation, which they love. So I think if money wasn't an option, I'd have housing. I'd have a lot of short-term housing, rapid rehousing. I would love to have something like that where these folks could just be released into something. I think it's good for them, but it's also really good for our community to know that these individuals aren't just being released to the street. I mean, the typical individual is committing a crime pretty shortly after they're released because they just don't know how to manage.
So really working to turn Ventura County into a blue zone. And I see us doing that in a number of different ways, whether that's direct care to a family, making sure that they have the food and the housing that they need, or really working to dismantle system inequalities. I would say that we're surrounded by people who have the same vision and who are really uniquely positioned to do that in a number of specialty areas. And so whether it's DV, HT, or homelessness, we have a number of subject matter experts who again have that same mission of designing high quality programs and meeting the needs of families, but are really qualified to do so. And that's why I love Interface, because on a day-to-day basis, I get to partner with a number of people who have the same vision, who want to help people thrive through great programs that meet the needs of the community.
So another thing that was touched on in the video was talking about human trafficking. And this is something that you can't imagine that exists in the world, let alone in our own community.
Yeah.
How difficult is it for Interface to be able to respond and intervene in those situations?
Yeah, well, this is really one of the most tragic and disturbing situations. And Interface is part of a task force with a lot of other key partners in the community, Sheriff's Department, DA, Homeland Security, all of these organizations really working on human trafficking. And I saw a video, they did a surveillance video of a single door, and this was a hotel room door. And over this period of time, there were about 50 guys that went in through this door. It was just heart-wrenching to think about the pain and misery behind that door. And traffickers, and these are organized crime units really, they'll make $500,000 on a long weekend from a single room. So this is really what we're up against. And yet we also get incredible stories and postcards from our clients saying, I'm back in my home, I'm back with my family, thank you for helping me out of that that horrendous life. And so it's a horrendous situation, but our staff and our partners are doing some incredible work.
So this is just one of the realities of our community, unfortunately, is
Yeah.
that this condition exists. And Interface is on the front line, reaching out, protecting the youth in our community. And we are so incredibly lucky to have a resource like Interface that is on the front line. And we need your support. Please, if you haven't already, scroll down on this page. You'll see where you're able to give generously to make sure that Interface is able to make sure that our community and our youth and our families are safe. So the 211 program at Interface has been around since 2005, serving 40 different counties.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine how hectic and crazy it must be during this COVID pandemic and how many responses you're responsible to be giving.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We would usually take in about 4,500 calls a week, and that's across the 40 counties. That's a third of the population of California that we cover. So when everybody has your phone number, you have to watch out. And of course, during this pandemic and the resulting economic challenges and challenges for seniors getting food, we went up to 15,000 calls a week, and it's settled down to 10,000, but that's still over double what we have been doing. So 211's been incredibly busy, and that's our job. We respond in disasters. You might remember last year, I talked about me getting rescued out of that fire.
Yep,
do you remember that last
I
year?
do, yep.
Well, it's coming up on the year anniversary, actually. And so we respond to fire disasters, floods, whatever. And so, of course, we're responding to the pandemic. We're expecting to take about 415,000 calls this coming year. So it's been incredibly busy, but at the same time, really rewarding to be able to respond to community needs just day in, day out.
So one of the focal points for Interface is its work with incarcerated youth and young adults. And I guess the question that probably a lot of people have is, first of all, what's that like? And second, is it possible to impact a change on someone's life that's already gone through the justice system?
Yeah. Well, we have actually an 85% success rate, which is pretty outstanding. So we feel like we are contributing to public safety, even though people are in the community and working with us. I'll tell you one story that's pretty amazing. A 24-year-old young man who was in gangs. He'd been shot twice. He had held one of his best friends and watched him die. So he'd really been through it. Came out of jail, came into our program, not interested, right? All he wanted to do was get back, have visitation with his 4-year-old son. Well, fast forward a few months, he's a star client. Graduated from his parenting class and did his therapy work. And so he graduates the program. What we find out later is that he was actually a victim in a drive-by shooting. A rival gang shot at his car, shot his car up, and a teenager was the one who shot at him. So he decided he was going to call the police. Now that's at considerable risk to him, right? To call the police on a rival gang kind of thing. And he actually went into court, stood up in court, and said to that young man, "You don't have to live this life. You can make a change." And so here was this guy going from, really wreaking havoc in our community to being a mentor to other young people. That's the kind of change that's possible.
So these are examples of what we as a community can do with supporting Interface. And again, I'll ask you once again, if you haven't had a chance to contribute, donate, bid on an auction item, please scroll down and do so. We're so grateful for your support, and more stories like this are possible if we come together as a community.
I'm really pleased to introduce to you the Westlake High School Alumni Choir, who are going to be singing "You Will Be Found" by Dear Evan Hansen. This is performed by David Frawley and accompanied by youth dancer Lark Detweiler.
Have you ever felt like nobody ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you should disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear? So let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand. And someone will come running, and I know they'll take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. Lift your head and look around. You will be found. 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 There's a place where we don't have to feel unknown. And every time that you call out, you're a little less alone. If you wanna say from across the silence, your voice is heard. Oh, someone will come running. To take you home. To take you home. Someone will come running to take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So the sun comes streaming in, 'cause you reach up and you rise again. If you only look around, you will be found. You will be found. You will be found. Out of the shadows, the morning is breaking, and all is new. All is new. It's clear on the empty, inside you really I see that all is new. All is new. You are not alone. 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 Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need someone to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let's not stand, 'cause you reach up and you rise again. If you only look around, you will be found. You will be found. You will be found. You will be
What an amazing evening. And this is, again, one of my favorite organizations, one of my favorite events. And even though, like we said, it wasn't the way we planned it,
Yeah.
it really is the heart of what Interface does. We learned about the impact that it has, but more importantly, the impact that we can have as a community by supporting Interface. So thank you so much for being here, for watching, for supporting.
And thank you, Andrew, for being here again for us this year. We really appreciate it. And thank you for your generosity. And if you've won a live auction item, we'll be updating that information below. And again, a shout out to our presenting sponsor, Sage Publication. Thanks, guys. And our other major sponsors, Western Alliance, Ellie Mae, NextBank, RJ O'Brien, AmeriHome, Julie and Jamie Power, and Allison and Peter Ratcliffe. We just couldn't do it without you. And we'd also like to thank Lynn and Lisa, great co-chairs. The entire Regional Advisory Board worked really hard to make this a special event. And Kevin Cronin, Caitlin Jenner, Aya Tara, David Frawley, the Westlake High School Alumni Choir, and Lark Detweiler. Thanks, guys.
And thank you to everybody that made tonight so special, and despite these current conditions that we're under. 6 years ago, for my first Hope and Light, we were just trying to raise $50,000 to buy a van.
Yeah.
So Interface had a way to make sure they could get out in the community and bring kids into the center.
Yeah.
And now, over the last 7 years, we will have surpassed $2 million raised in total. That's incredible. It's an incredible investment in this community to make sure that we have a brighter future for our youth and for our families. So on behalf of the entire Interface family, thank you so much for being here and for your generosity. Eric, we pulled it off, huh?
We did.
High five, buddy.
Oh
God. Well, now what do we do? Oh, thank you. Stay safe, everybody. Good night. Thank you so much.